It's on the internet. You can see. I'll show you. But the thing is, they were shooting at it. They shot. It's on my Facebook. So let me go to a computer and I'll have the time to send it to you. But yeah, I'll do it by tomorrow. But let me explain. The thing is, we had the right, but they punished us by shooting at us. Now, I don't know if it was the police that shot at us or it was white supremacist people. But on the night of the primary, at 2:00 in the morning before primary, we were shot at. The Star of David. They shot at the window of the patio at 4115. There was a girl sleeping there. Usually, she could have been shot to death. Luckily, she didn't get killed. They also shot at the windows of Stephen Martinez's van, and they shot at the windows of my Lincoln. And they then, 2:00 in the afternoon, a dark-skinned man comes in, 2 in the afternoon, and brings a BB gun and shoots 20, 30 rounds of BB guns into CNR Auto Shop. And the entire school across the street was on lockdown because of the shooting at 2 in the afternoon. Then at 2 in the evening again, once again, we were shot at. And the reason that they were getting mad at us and saying we deserve to be leaving was that they said there was gang activity and shootings. Whereas I think the shootings were done by the cops or the graffiti police or people they paid to do it for them. In my heart, I believe that this was done by anti-Semitic or ISIS people, and I called the FBI and reported that ISIS is infiltrating the Matavia. The Matavia is running LA County Sheriff's Department, and we are the enemies of the Matavia gang. We're the Lot 13, okay? All of them. And they did nothing. I said it was a hate crime, and they didn't investigate it as a hate crime. They called it gang, and then they did a gang injunction. But it was a hate crime because they were hitting the Star of David. Only Ernesto RC, ARCE of KPFK.org. So you could talk to him. It was done the Friday after it happened. Like I called up the ACLU, I called up the ADL, I called up my rabbi. I was shaken. I was shook because they tried killing us, and they were not killing the gangsters. They were killing my husband and me, the Jews, inside that house. Right, which were 40 years old. Those code violations are similar. All right, we had already been having trouble with code violations. When we bought the place, we knew there were code violations. And the Mr. Silva, who is the proprietor of CNR Auto Shop, had been there for 55 years. And they wanted him out because he was running a very, how do you say it? Ethnically oriented East LA Cholo organization. I mean, he was in with Los Lobos. He was the most popular auto mechanic in the entire area. There was people coming from all around to have Louis take care of them. But they wanted to ethnic cleanse it. You know what I mean? They were ethnically cleansing the real Mexican heart of LA, of East LA. And even though I'm a Polak, I could see that the behind it was a chance for them to capture East LA Cholo, not Cholo, but there's another word for it. The people that are second generation. There's a word for it. Chicanos. They were. Everyone in LA, East LA, was a Chicano because their grandmothers or their mothers were from Mexico. It was like living in a little bit of a Mexican neighborhood where everybody spoke Spanish. Everybody liked, the Lord Jesus Christ, and they had processions with the church, it was beautiful. But that didn't mean that they hated the Jews exactly. They put up with me. But white supremacists didn't like us. It was those gangsters that came and tried to get rid of us. And when we went to be for Trump, a white man came up to us and said, for being for Trump, we are going to burn your house down. Instead, 2 years later, they sued us to lose our house. Same difference. The political action group against the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, which is represented by Biden and Hillary Clinton, not liking Mr. Bernie Sanders, not liking Dennis Kucinich, and certainly not liking Donald Trump. They were at war on our property, and they took our property as a political gain. They wanted to impoverish me, and they did. Since May, I think it was May 18th, 2018, that they, and then September 2018, September 10, my husband and I were forced to leave the property or be arrested. It was yellow tagged. That was appointed before May 18th. It was already given that he was going to be the receiver. It was basically a kangaroo court, which means that everything is already decided before it started. And the judge could do nothing but maybe do a little audit here, give me a little win here. Like he said, oh, okay, you can have somebody other than Mike in construction be doing the reconstruction with Mark Adams. They let Mr. David Cohen do the construction according to the judge's judgment in December. But come January, there was a meeting, and they all ganged up on Mr. Cohen and said, no, you can't keep one wall up to just do a rehab. No, you must demolish to the ground everything. You are not allowed to touch anything. And when Mr. Cohen even tried to demolish, Mr. Adams refused to give him access. When I called to get access to get my belongings out, I was always denied. During the 2 years that it was all locked up before it was demolished, I had artwork, I had all my clothes, all my kitchen utensils, everything, because I was promised that I could go back and get them. I was never allowed access. He stole a precious, irreplaceable painting that I did on a mural of the wall. I do artwork. It was a picture of the Lord Jesus Christ as he is in heaven, in blue and white. It's on YouTube. You can look at it. But the original was demolished or stolen. We had a Rio Grande sign that was worth at least $500. They took that and stole it. I had materials that were important for my work, like clothing that I had been saving, and it was gone. And I was never compensated for it. And what really hurts the most is statues I had, artwork I did, all of it was stolen. Well, it had problems with plumbing and termites and electrical, and yet I've been to houses similar. They wouldn't give us a permit to fix it. When we asked to get a permit just to fix the house so we could live in it as a couple and leave everything else, they wouldn't even give us a quote. I would call the building and safety. They would not give us quotes for getting a permit. Well, before we were kicked out, that was like in 2019. In 2019, like during the summer, 2018, right after 2018, May, I started calling around, and in June or July, I found Mr. Shalom Bayit Construction Company. I'll give you his number. It's area code 323-944 5559. Now, his name is David Cohen. They tried to paint Mr. Cohen as a criminal because he was fighting for private property rights. He was going to take the property, refurbish it, and I gave him property title in exchange for me to be back there and live there. But he was prevented from living up to that promise because Mark Adams decided to demolish everything. And there was no recourse but to obey. There was one house standing, 4115 Hamel Street. It was used by people for years. People were living in it. They decided to take the LA County Sheriff's Department during one of the 5 or 6 raids they did, took the sink in the downstairs bathroom off the wall. And a week later, Patricia Martinez, Deputy District Attorney, came to do a photographic inspection, took pictures of that sink that was off the wall, and said, this is a place is unlivable. It was done by the county. They created the issue of not having a sink work. Instead of giving us one house to live in so we wouldn't be homeless, they decided to take that and call it, unlivable. They did everything they could. They let squatters live there with poop. They went into the C&R auto shop and they battered the windows. They used a battering ram. The police, the gang and intervention people were ganging up on us, and they took the battering ram and opened up the windows of Porsches and fancy expensive designer cars that were being stored there for money because they could. It's like we live with a Gestapo or a fascist regime in the state of California and the county. And there's nothing I can do because the county is like, we can't get a story out. I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe my ears or my heart that this is America. And I said, what about cruel and unusual punishment? All I did is not be able to afford to get my house fixed. And they're putting me in the street. What the fuck? It would have cost $70,000 to fix it. They sold it for $550,000, and they're charging lawyer fees over $560,000 between the security for Laurenti and the lawyer fee for Mark Adams and the demolition $100,000 and what in this. It's all a big grab. It's a theft. And there's nothing that I can do. And I call the county and say, you made me like this. Help me get housing. I've been on the phone with them now that I'm living in a car. And if I don't live in this car with this nice young man, well, he's not that young, he's 71, there's no one to save me. There's no one that I can count on. My children are angry. They're angry that I live with, gangsters. My family, my sister Donna, won't let me come to Chicago to live with her. My husband is dead. His family took me off of their money from they used to give us money from the trust fund, but because the trust fund doesn't include wives, I'm destitute. The only thing I had going for me was a house, income. I used all my California teachers, stars, California teachers, security, retirement income to pay to fix a studio apartment. And guess what? They demolished it. I spent $40,000 creating up-to-code studio.
Tell why your husband
died. For 8 years.
Tell why your husband died.
My husband was killed by these people. They lied. The Adult Protective Services lied about him. Said he was living in an abandoned house. Put him in a nursing home. He got pneumonia because of the city of LA ignoring the arsonist that was living at 14801 Plummer Street. 8 different fires in 1 month. My husband died of smoke inhalation in Panorama City. And you know what happened? Nothing. He had money. I told Dusan Pavlovich, if you want to go after somebody, go after Paul Singh, Singh. He has 90 properties. Why not steal his properties instead of women like Carlene and Mary Jacobs who are destitute and homeless? No, they're letting him get by. And bribery of the judges. There was a woman that beat me up because she told me, Paul told me to beat you up, and she didn't go to jail.
So he did not die from coronavirus.
He didn't die from coronavirus.
He died from pneumonia
because of the smoke inhalation.
And
I can't breathe now because of smoke inhalation. And the man that did this to me, guess what? He's free to charge $800 a month to people who only make $900 that are too ignorant to know the law. No, well, there was a baloney, bogus lien that was by the family. My husband's family had millions of dollars because the father worked for AT&T and used to loan money to his coworkers, and when they couldn't pay back, he'd say, "That's okay, just give me your AT&T stock." Well, his AT&T stock became worth a few $1,000,000. So the family never really had to work. My husband was independently wealthy. And so he would walk around like an angel, giving money, 30,000 here, 20,000 here, 5,000 here, to anybody that needed it, like an undercover angel. When I met him, he was living in a carpet. He was homeless. How the hell did I know he was one of those urban legends, those people you hear about that are millionaires that are homeless? But I have another one now. He's living in a Mercedes-Benz.
Tell the story.
His name is Boris Kushner. He's just like my husband, Roland. Rich, educated, brilliant, but he wants to
I'm
do
not
good
rich
for the
right
world.
now.
Now he's not rich. But the
6 years I'm fighting.
6 years he's fighting, but he was
That I
a
will not
millionaire.
live, our kids will not live in Soviet Union.
He's from the Soviet Union, and he's very
Under New World
bombastic.
Order of Obamacare.
Extremely
or free
bombastic.
Medicare.
Unlike my first husband, Roland, he's my second. He will talk your arm off.
Don't forget if they want to take my interview.
Yes, the property was sold by Gin, G-I-N, Carolyn Gin, G-I-N. She wrote that I was being aggressive and that I was harassing her because I kept calling her, telling her what a great property it was to try to get her to sell it for a lot of money. And she called that harassment. She must be in with the county or those other people. She's Chinese.
It is
They're
crime
trying to
against
take over.
humanity.
The Chinese people will come in one way or another, even if it's through Mark. Now, I don't know who bought it. I hear it's a couple, but for some reason, I could not go to my own property and recover my belongings. I was not able to live at 4115 Hamel Street, which was open and available for all these 2 years. No, they had to put me in the street instead, because then they couldn't hire security guards for $1,000 per day. It's a scam. Mr. Laurenti was charging $1,000 per day to have security guards there. What the fuck?
Tell the story, what's happened between me and you. It's okay. I am reminding
The
you.
money is going to be split on July 15. That's when the final decision is going to be made. Because of coronavirus, our March 18 or whatever, March something was delayed because it was during Corona. Then it came to May 15. That was delayed. Now it's July. For all I know, it won't be till November. And every month that passes, Mr. Adams can collect money for answering the phone. $40 per minute. You get it? They're using their lawyer
Power.
fees. If
Nazi
I called
power.
up and just want to talk to them and leave a message, they charge me $200 just for listening to my message. So you're after a while you realize, don't call them because it's coming out of your pocket. But the girl that works for him, Sheila Vossoff, is a sweetheart. She works for him, and she's trying to save money. I don't know if she's a shill, or if she's for real. But if she was if Sheila Vossoff, Vosssough, were the real receiver, I bet this would have been settled a year ago, maybe less. She's a reasonable person, and I trust her. But they pick Mark to do the collecting. You should go to his, oh my God, go to his bank. Oh, it's called Torrey Pines Bank on 5th Street and Grand. It looks like a museum. It has marble floors, marble walls, marble ceilings. It has chandeliers. Only billionaires put their money in that bank. That's where he banks. Sheila, Sheila, and it's Vosssough. Her phone number is 310-471. Okay, I like her. I trust. Oh. She's a great actress because she acts like she really gives a shit. Right. And you know what I found out? She's not Jewish. She's not Jewish. She's from the Middle East. This hatred of the Jews is endemic in this whole business. Trust me. It's I know this sounds like far-fetched, and I don't mean to sound like I'm coming off the wall. But the more I think about it, the more it seems like it's the infiltration of the Middle Eastern money. Because back in the 70s, I don't know if you're aware of it, California, especially LA, was going bankrupt. They made a deal with the Middle Eastern oil moguls to bail them out. And by bailing them out, the first district, Matavia Run, county, took money from the Middle East in exchange for power. And they have power over the Jews. They got rid of the Jews from East LA, and they got rid of the Jews from Hollywood, and they're getting rid of the Jews that try to come back. And it's basically they brought the Palestinian war between the Jews and the Gentiles, and I mean the Jews and the not the Gentiles, but the Jews and the Middle Eastern, terrorists
on American soil.
Here, and they're bringing it to American soil. When I found out that they have Al Qaeda and Islam in the prisons, and people that are involved in the MS-13 have a middle name, Mohammed. They are infiltrating the gangs of the Mexicans because they look like Mexicans, but they are not Mexicans. When Al Qaeda came with 911, they ran to the border, and they infiltrated. They got married to each other. The mothers taught their children to do jihad.
It's why they don't watch the wall.
This is a jihad against the Christians and the Jews.
On American
Carlene
soil.
Butterfield is a Christian. It's a jihad against her. It's a jihad against me. Bill Herrera, Christian, helping black people, a jihad. Trust me, this is my psychic, God-given word.
ISIS infiltrated America.
They infiltrated America this way. And they're in connection with the communists who said, we will bury you from the inside out, like Khrushchev said. He said, we will bury you and we'll do it from inside. They brought those people in from, that's why, I hate to say it, that's why we need that wall. because they come across the border and they infiltrate their hatred.
Don't forget your full story.
The fees that Mark has charged are about $420,000. $100,000 goes to $67,000 goes to what's his name, Dusan Pavlovich, which is peanuts. Okay, so 67 plus 420 is what? 480. Then you put another 30,000 for Rodica Marinescu's bullshit liens. So we're 480 plus 30, that's 510. Then you put another 15 for my, tax problem. And then you add a little bit there for, what do you call it, a cherry on the top of the sundae. And I will be lucky to not owe them money for stealing my property. You get it? I'll be lucky that they won't put a lien on any further earnings I make because they stole my property and cost so much money. And Mark is trying to get rid of us now because he realizes he used up all the equity. So he left us alone. I would like to know if Mark Adams is real, if he's Middle Eastern, or if he's Jew. Because if he's Middle Eastern, pretend, like Sheila, then I know this is Al-Qaeda invading the county of Los Angeles, as was promised by the Middle Eastern deal back in the 70s with Tom Bradley, who wanted to save the city from being bankrupt. He used oil money back in the 70s when what's his name was in power, Carter, to make a deal. And Middle Easterners took over Beverly Hills. Hello? They took over Beverly Hills. The Jews were kicked out. They took over the industry in Hollywood.
Schools,
they took over schools.
Colleges, universities.
It's like we live in Shia.
We live under Sharia law.
Sharia law. And this is America. It's heavy-duty shit. If I wasn't a Jew, if I hadn't already been killed almost by bullets at the Temple Emet of Woodland Hills back in the 1980s, I was almost killed. I had no idea how much hatred there is against the Jews. It's still going on. The Nazis are still around. The neo-Nazis were the ones that killed us before. They're still killing us now. They're the grandchildren of the Nazis. And listen, one more thing. When the Jews were killed, they said, don't forget. They're trying to make us forget. We have to remember. We have to remember the Holocaust. Because it's happening again.
We must to remember.
It's not your fault. I hate to tell you, but I never in a million years thought I would ever vote for a Republican. I voted for Democrats my entire life. I thought that my arm would fall off if I voted for a Republican. But after they saw that Hillary Clinton's bumper sticker was on one of the drive-by shooters' cars, I couldn't vote for her. I voted for Trump. And I'm voting again for Trump. In fact, I'm becoming a Republican because who was in charge during this takeover of my property? It wasn't Republicans. They're hypocritical, anti-American, communistic, Al-Qaeda-loving, fear mongering. Look at, we're all walking around like robots. All these crazy people walking around with these masks. It's a conspiracy to make us inhuman. They replace good children taking care of their parents with some bullshit programs that don't work. Oh, don't worry about mom. We're going to give her 3 meals a day. Oh, we've got LAHSA, Los Angeles Housing Authority. Bullshit. Nobody's taking care of me. I'm in a fucking car for
Tell
2
from
weeks
the
already.
beginning.
My
From the
friend came
beginning.
and rescued me.
Tell
He's been in
story
a car
from the
for a
beginning.
year.
From the beginning.
Old people are living in cars in the street. And it's not me.
They try
Even
to drain.
rich people do it. I was rich. I had property worth $500,000, and they made me homeless.
They want to drain stimulus money.
They want to drain stimulus money. We had stimulus money, and we've been using it to pay for a hotel. I got the Adult Protective Agency to give me $800, and they changed their mind. They said, oh, you got somebody to pay your rent? Don't worry about it. He can't live on nothing. So now we're living in our car again, by Gelson's. Gelson's kicked us out. We got kicked out by a gas station. There's only so many places you can sleep in a car that are fancy. When we were living in a car overnight in Panorama City, and one of the white supremacist people tried killing me. And Boris Kushner, he put a gun in his pocket, and he tried
Tell
to
from
steal.
the beginning, from the house. Start from the
They
house.
saw me at the house, and I think they
And I did
followed
not
me.
know.
And he didn't know. And they got a white guy to say, can I have some food? He got distracted looking for food. 2 minutes later, the guy with the gun comes, same white type person, only skinhead. And he puts a gun.
Tell the
He
story in
was a
the
Mexican
house.
skinhead, like a hiker.
How you was almost raped,
I was
whatever.
almost raped at that house I was
Why
living
I
in.
raised you
was-
from the house.
While I was living in different transitional housing, I was forced to live with people that were raping me, trying to. My husband was killed because of the arson.
And I came for you to help
He could
me.
have died in his own home, in his own bed, at 4111 Hamel, and see his beautiful olive tree. Instead, he died alone in a hospital after being forced to live in a nursing home because they lied about him.
Owner of the house
This
tried
is
to rape you.
Unbelievable. His memory is asking me to be able to write the truth.
Stuff.
Am I one of the worst, or is it worse for others? I'm just curious.
Tell why I rescue from your house.